show. I'm Victoria Turner, and today we have amazing vintners and vineyards of San Diego County. Our guest today is Susanne Sapier.
Yeah.
And your winery is?
Vineyard Grant James.
Vineyard Grant James, which is named after?
My son and my dad.
You are a very wonderful woman.
Well, it takes a lot of work to get your name on a vineyard.
In fact, it does. How big is your vineyard?
We've got almost 9 acres, so 7.5 under vine. And so I do that, and I manage a couple vineyards and then source a lot of
that's
grapes.
up in Ramona?
Yep.
Holy cow, that's your whole life then, basically.
Yeah, it is. It's a good life. It's like living at the hotel.
Wonderful. And does your family help you as well?
Oh yeah, they get sucked into the black void.
The black void.
Yep.
Who does your blending for you?
We all kind of do. Actually, my husband probably gets the credit for that one. He kind of gets a final say. Jock.
Jock, okay.
Yeah. So he gets kind of a final say. We actually make the wine. The staff and I, the chemist, will actually put the blends together, do all the bench trials, but he kind of gets a say on it. So
you're vertically integrated from grape to wine glass.
Yes. Yep. And to the tasting room and to selling.
Talk to me about your tasting room. You're designing a new one, I heard.
We are expanding. So we've got a big outdoor tasting patio, but we've needed to increase our indoor space. We need to have an event space. So we're getting to where people want to do events, or we have wine club, and so we do what called wine club pickups, and so there's a lot of people that come for those events.
What's a wine club pickup?
So when you're a wine club member, and then once a quarter we'll release something new, and then they come, and then we explain it to them, give them text sheets, and then they pick up their wine.
What's the last wine that you had for your wine club?
We did an Orange Muscat, and Malbec, and Syrah were the 3 new releases.
And do they get a case each, or that's one case?
That's 3 bottles, and then some of them, we've got one this weekend that it's a VIP, so people who get 6 or more bottles or a case will get a private luncheon, an explanation of each wine.
Speaking of explanations of wines, there's 2 bottles right here in front of us. Can you talk to me about those award-winning?
So those, that Syrah, it's 15. We got a medal for that at Toast to the Coast. So
Very
that's
impressive.
a contest through the Del Mar Fair.
Of all of the local winemakers?
Local and a lot of California.
No kidding.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I think Francis Ford Coppola was the one who won Best of Show for the whole contest.
Oh, well, he's got the name, so that hardly counts.
Yeah, and probably money.
And probably money. But you're competing directly against Napa, Sonoma, and Mendocino, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
you still won?
Oh, yeah. We got one silver for it, and then we had a Viognier that we won, and then we've got a lot of contests still to go this season.
Oh, really? How many contests would you say in any given year?
Oh, I can't. There's probably dozens. We enter about 6.
Well, that's because then you get to win, so that's a good thing. Talk to me about your brand label here. This is a very unique design. How did you guys come up with this?
It's actually the sister of one of the gals that runs our tasting room came up with it. And so the little guy there was kind of to offset at the time. We were exploring doing some Greek varietals. So we're actually in the process of changing up the labels, and that's quite a task to do something like that. It's
huge because that's what people know you as.
Yep.
And what kind of grapes are you growing now?
I grow a variety. I'm working on ones that are drought tolerant and heat resistant.
Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, California, hello. And now, of course, it's raining, so.
Yeah, during the summer, it'll still get hot. And then, the drought, we don't have a drought right now. Definitely could easily come back. So we need ones that, once established, can take a minimal amount of water.
And are these out of Italy, or where are they?
A lot of them are Spain and southern Italy.
Mediterranean, with similar climates.
Yep.
Yeah. So are they, is this the standard old vines, or are they creating new types of vines?
I don't know if they're creating new types of vines. These have been around for a long time.
Old is good.
Yeah, old is good.
In wine. And how does your family help you in and around the winery?
So my son's been hugely instrumental. So he's doing the operations, and I've got other family members, and I've got staff that work on marketing and the finance. We've got the vineyard. A lot of them are in the tasting room. So it takes a small army to do this.
To do well, because you're doing everything, literally. It's a business from the bottom up.
Right, right. So there's the farming aspect, the winemaking, and then the tasting room. So all three pieces.
And if they don't work together, it doesn't work.
Correct, correct.
Talk to me about the picking in September when you go out to look at the vines and see these beautiful large grapes saying, "Hello, Mom."
Oh, so harvest. And actually, we're not looking for big grapes. We're actually looking for little grapes. So
tell me why.
It's the pulp to skin ratio.
Okay.
So we're looking for grapes that are going to have lots of skins, tannins, seeds. So when you're going through testing, you actually are eating a lot of seeds. You think you're doing your own kind of grape nut cereal commercial, man. You're never going to eat another grape seed as long as you live. So that is a way of just testing as you're walking through to see the grapes' maturity, the flavors that are going to develop right there at the end, and then you bring them into the lab and test them. So being hot weather, we're going to look for acids. So we look at the sugars, we push the sugars up as high as we can go, and then just the nanosecond we think that's going to drop an acid, then we'll pull them.
Pick. And then what's the next step after you have all this fruit? What do? You
got to keep it cold. So we got to pick it early, keep it in the shade, keep it cold. We'll do what's called destemming.
Pull out the stems.
Yep. It actually goes through a machine that it's miraculous, and put them in and they come out the other end with just the berries. So some of them will do a whole cluster, some of them will break up. I do different styles. I've kind of got two different styles going. When I know I'm going to blend something, I'll do it much softer. I'll quickly start doing the yeast. I won't do what they call a cold soaking, or what they call an extended maceration. I'll save those for my single varietals, and so then I'll bring out a lot more color and flavor and intensity by doing that.
So when you're starting to mix them, what is it you're looking for based on what you've just seen?
When I'm going to blend them? Yeah. So I can do what's called a field blend. So I can blend them right when we're bringing in the grapes.
Wow.
Yep.
That's very impressive.
Because I know maybe what combinations have worked. There's kind of if it grows together, it goes together. Not always. And then sometimes I'll blend them at the end. Sometimes I'll age them for a couple years. I'm getting ready to bottle now, and so then I'll blend them.
How did you get started doing this? Did you have to go to a school?
I self-taught. So when I very first, we made that moment, decided we were going to do it, I actually got a whole stack of yellow legal pads of paper. Went onto Amazon and bought every used book there was on winemaking.
Good for you.
And then set them in one pile, and I had all my notes, and then I took notes of every single book until all the pile of books was over there.
Just like Da Vinci.
Yeah, except he was probably better at it. And then went to classes, subscribed to a number of periodicals, worked with a lot of winemakers. I'd have them come over, taste my wine.
And so, and now you are the elected president of the Ramona.
Oh, Ramona Valley Vineyard Association. So that's with wineries and the vineyards in Ramona and Highland Valley. So it's an education component, there's fellowship, it's a good place to get your questions asked, find out about vendors.
So I'm thinking if I might like to be a vintner, I should join your organization to start with.
Yeah, yep, and then each month we have a meeting, we try to do an educational component. It's also a good way, let's say you go to a meeting and you're sitting next to someone who they're starting a vineyard, right? So you kind of got a buddy, or then the person next to you has been having a vineyard for 10 years, and now here's someone you can ask a lot of questions from.
Or show up and help.
Absolutely.
Hands-on makes all the difference in the world.
Yep, oh it does. You got to read about it, see it, practice it.
Drink it.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing about wine. It's a sensual experience, right? You see it in the glass, right? It's got all the colors and kind of smells, right? You can smell fruit, or you can smell floral notes. You drink it, you go, oh, thank God, the day's over, right? You got that.
But that's not when you say what you say when you have to go at 8 o'clock in the morning to taste.
No, you think, I should have brushed my teeth earlier, is what you think. And you taste it, and at that point, it's like you're doing work. So you're tasting to see what's wrong, what needs to be done, and what it is you're going to tell the staff people to do. That's what you're thinking about. That's what I'm thinking about.
Okay, so I want to follow a grape from when the stick goes in the ground, and then it pops up, and then you have the grape, and then start from the stick.
Oh, okay.
You decide what are you putting in the ground?
Okay, so we're actually going to put more sticks in, because I had to replace plants.
Because of gophers?
Yes, because of gophers.
What percentage of your crop disappeared?
10%. So I had about 10% got hit by gophers.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
What a nightmare.
Yes, the little pests, they don't sleep. I do, and they don't.
You think they would wait until it was wine? You would think.
Oh, yeah, I think. And so.
Okay, so giving that, we're putting a new one in that the gophers had before, and they don't get this one. Now what happens?
All right, so we put the stick in the ground, and then it's going to start to grow out of a grow tube, and we're going to train it. So we're going to train it to be a trunk. And then if it's smaller than a pencil, which a lot of times it is, we're going to cut it all the way back.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And so then we're going to grow it again, and we're going to train the trunk up. So we're going to train the trunk up, and we're going to train it to be a cordon, if that's what we're going. Vertical shoot positioning, but maybe you want to do a different design or a different trellising system. Then it's going to take 4 years till we can get our first harvest off of it.
It's a long time to wait for a harvest.
A long time, and that's why you're very sad when the gophers have killed a plant. Yes, because now, right, that represents 4 years till you can get your first harvest. So we're going to harvest the grape, and then it's going to go into a cold room. We're going to decide if we're going to extended macerate, cold soak. Then we're going to let it ferment. So it's the process of turning grape juice into alcohol.
Okay.
And then we're going to, if it's a white grape, we're going to put it into a stainless steel tank, keep it cold. If it's a red, we're going to age it in a barrel.
Now, do you add yeast at this point?
At this point, I've already added yeast.
You've already added. And does it matter what kind of strains of yeast?
Yep. I actually put a lot of brain power into my yeast. So each yeast has a different flavor profile. Like you're trying to bring out tropical fruits, mango, something else you want to bring out, raspberry and blackberry. And then if you know your yeast for that varietal goes really hot, you're going to get a yeast that can take a lot of alcohol, a lot of heat, a lot of high fermentation.
That's brilliant.
So you experiment, and then you find yeast you like, then you find, oh, I'm never going to do that again, right? So you take meticulous notes about it. And then what's our little grapes? And then our little grape, then, now if it's a white grape, it's only going to be in its tank for about 4 months, and then it's going to get bottled. If it's a little red grape, it's going to go in a barrel, get aged for at least 2 years.
2 years?
Oh, at least, if
so
not
now
longer.
We're 6 years in from...
And then it's probably going to maybe sit in the bottle for 2 more years. In a perfect world, it would probably sit in the barrel for 4 years.
Okay, that's 10 years in from the stick in the ground.
And then it's going to sit in the bottle for at least 6 months, preferably a couple years.
So they're at 12 years now.
Yep. So it takes a while. So it's a commitment.
This is a 12-year-old baby.
Now that one didn't age as long, so that one started life 8 years ago.
Still, it's an 8-year-old.
It's a lot, yes, to have your product not sell for 8 years. Yes, it takes a while.
Yeah, and how frustrating, because you don't know what you have until then.
Oh, no, you've known way back in the, oh yeah, when you bring those grapes in, if you can stand over them and you smell something, and you can smell if the aromas are off, right? And you
right away.
Yeah, oh yeah, I just want to crawl under a table and cry, but I don't.
But at least it's before it's 8 years old.
Yep, I start making decisions right then. If something doesn't come in right, I've got a whole toolbox of things I can do to fix them.
Such as what?
If something comes in and the aromatics are really off, it's not ideal, but you can add oak dust, and that can be kind of immediately start to correct it.
Really?
I can change up my yeast.
Also, any kind of oak dust, or this is a specific product?
You actually get you can get an American, a Hungarian, you can get medium toasted, French, you can get it light toasted. So I've actually got a bunch just for emergency reasons.
Because each of those has a different flavor profile.
Absolutely. And the difference between a medium and a medium plus and a heavy toast.
It's
huge.
huge, huge. So notes, taking all the notes on this are critical.
Yep, you take all kinds of notes, and then we put, so every barrel in our spreadsheet, there's a line, so we know everything that's happened to the grape, and then we have it up on whiteboards. We have it in something called Trello, a work app.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. So how many?
But you know what? It's fun. And I think it gives people a chance. They drink this and they can connect, right? They can sit on that patio and they can turn around and go, that's where that Sangiovese was growing. It went right there to get processed and then it came right here for me to drink. So it's like, I mean, when you can't make a link to a lot of farm products, right? When you're eating your lettuce, you don't think, wow, where did that lettuce start from?
I know Jose,
right?
yeah. But they can go to your house.
Yeah, and then they kind of can see the process and make that link to the farm, to the land.
I was going to say bring the children, but wait.
Oh, they can bring their picnics, their kids, their dogs.
And
Right? Makes the wine taste better.
Well, that's very true.
If you're happy.
So where do you see the whole wine industry in San Diego going in the next 20 years?
Oh, I think just exploding.
Why is that?
You know what? The technology involved in all aspects of grape growing and winemaking are continually getting better. So anything that we would have struggled with, there's now a scientific way to solve the problem. People like it. I mean, wine it's a cultural component to it. There's an intellectual component to it. It's kind of fun to come home, right? You got a home cooked meal, right? Now, you can put a little brain power into what you want to do. You can do your own little wine pairing at dinner, right? You're like, well, I always make this kind of beef stew. I always make this pasta dish. What if I try it with Petite Syrah tonight as opposed to a cab? Right, so you can give yourself an affordable treat on a weekday with something you cooked.
So consumers are becoming more intellectual, more sophisticated, more able to interpret the wine into their lives.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And starting from a very young age.
Really?
Oh yeah, I'm astounded at how many people in their early 20s can tell you everything, but they can tell you whether or not they like Petite Syrah. They can tell you if they're bored with cab.
20-year-old being bored, oh boy.
Yeah, they know. It's not hard to decide what you like and what you don't like, even if it's a broad category. Like, oh, you know what? I like wines more like Pinot. I want a softer wine where I want a big, bold, intense wine. So I want a white wine. I want a wine for winter. I want a wine for summer.
What kind of questions do people have besides the 20-year-olds when they come up to your tasting
Oh, they're
room?
actually older than 20.
Oh, okay.
They're like in their
The
mid-20s.
young people.
Young
Okay.
people.
So what kind of questions do the non-young people ask when they come up to your tasting rooms?
They'll ask everything. I mean, if they've got a lot of experience with wine, they'll want to know what percentage in the bottle is estate growing, or what kind of barrel it was aged in, or what the numbers look like when you brought it in.
Really? Now that is sophisticated.
Yeah, because they want to know. A lot of them that are going to cellar it want to know if it'll hold up. And so by you asking those questions, they'll know if they can cellar this for 2 years, 5 years. And then you get people who are kind of sheepish, who've never done wine tasting, and then they're like, oh, I don't know. And so then they want you to walk them through the process. And
Okay, let's talk about walking through the process.
when they come wine tasting,
Sure.
we do several. So we start them out with a white. Then as we move through the tasting room, it'll get just progressively a little bit more intense, a little bit more in tannic. So we definitely start with the lighter reds and then move through and then maybe finish up with a port. And then we ask them questions. And
As you go along.
Yep. And I would actually say, if someone says they don't know what kind of wine they like, 2 really good questions to ask them are, how do you like your coffee in the morning?
Ah, and
because if they tell you they like it with lots of cream and sugar, you're going to go, right, let's go this direction. Or if they tell you, God, you know what, I wish it was just like coffee grounds, right? Then you're going to go a different direction. And the second question you can ask them, what kind of salad dressing do you like?
Ah, and what do you find with that?
If they tell you ranch, they're going to go one way. As if they tell you a really spicy balsamic, they're going to go a different direction.
Really? So,
So it's kind of giving you a little insight into what their palate's like.
And then you can serve them.
You can kind of go off like, hey, let's try this Malbec. Or I've got the Zin that's a little bit more intense. Or I've got this varietal. It's almost like a Bordeaux blend with a real cab that's soft.
You know, when people come to your tasting rooms, they're very lucky because, and in fact, of all the San Diego wineries, because people who grow their own wines know their vintages like they know their children. You know, where it came from, how well it's going to go, when you should do it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about cellaring for a minute. What kinds of things would you recommend people do in terms of having a cellar, and what kinds of wines should they be cellaring? Not everybody has a
yeah,
cellar.
you don't need a cellar. Just keep it cold. So
How
like
cold?
we have friends that we go to or wine club members, and then I see a wine rack on top of the fridge. I go, oh my God.
Take that
please,
down.
No, take that down. It's so hot. I'm like, you know what? It's been up there getting hot. I go, if it doesn't taste good, you just bring it back to me and I'll give you another bottle. Oh, you know what? Just a little wine cooler. You know, and if you don't have a wine cooler, just keep it in the fridge. Just keep it cold. There's most people, you know what? Most people drink their wine.
Fairly soon. But then there's some sophisticated people who want to be aging it.
Or it's sophisticated. And there's a lot of people who belong to multiple wine clubs, and they'll kind of joke if they get a lot of wine. So they have they have a lot of wine.
They need
so
an extra
funny.
refrigerator.
Or they have to drink it faster.
Oh, well, that's tough. So talk to me about where your grandchildren are going to be in the wine world.
Right. They're not even a sparkle in anybody's eye. I don't have
when
any.
they are.
Yeah, I don't even have any grandchildren. You know what? It's so hard to say. Everybody follows their own path in life, right? Just because you liked it, right, doesn't mean your kids will like it. They got to come to it when they're ready. And if they would want to circle back around, it's something they like, then great.
Yeah.
If not, you know what? You go find your own shooting star.
You're a good grandma. You're a good almost grandma. Don't be calling me up tomorrow and say I have a grandma.
There's one coming.
Here it is. It's your fault. So when you go to other wineries here in San Diego, what is it that you're looking for?
What am I looking for? I'm looking for a good representation of fruit.
Okay.
Like, what does it mean when you taste a wine from San Diego?
Right. And what does it mean?
It means a hot weather grape. And then, did you bring it at the right numbers? Is it flabby? It means that there was not enough acid. Did you have any kind of sanitation problem? Did your grapes ever get hot? Did you have any what they call ethyl acetate or VA, volatile acidity?
And you can taste that in the wine.
Oh, you can taste all that stuff in the wine. And then you know like what they did, and you just like, and so you're looking at their sanitation, their flavor profiles, and then there's also markers. So grapes of different varietals should have a different taste, and so you're looking to see if they hit that. You're looking to see if they waited long enough to bring their fruit in. Was it right? Does it have the flavors it should, or did you pick too early, or did you bring damaged fruit in?
Oh, and how does damaged fruit affect it?
Oxidation, off aromas, off flavors, what they call mercaptans. So that's like if you get kind of an onion or garlicky taste.
That's definitely bad. There's no
Or
amount of spaghetti.
vegetative meant they didn't manage their vineyard. The vineyard got away from them.
What does that mean?
So vegetative, like if it has like a green pepper, that meant they had too much foliage in comparison to how many grapes they had.
And they should have been cutting the foliage back, and you can taste that in the wine.
Yep.
Oh. Talk to me about how you manage the soil. I know you got an email a while ago, somebody talking about fertilizer.
Oh yeah, on our break, yes. Somebody has sent me an email. So the rain's been great, right? But it has potentially depleted some of the nitrogen in the soil. I haven't done a cover crop. I tried the first couple years, we didn't have enough rain.
What kind of crops are cover crops?
One that you would work back into the soil and would add nitrogen.
So typically clover,
legumes.
legumes, beans.
Yep. And
you can actually save that crop as well. Just because it's legumes doesn't mean you can't go out and pick the beans and eat them.
I don't know anybody that does. The ones I know plow it back in. I suppose you could eat them. I hadn't thought about it. They don't seem to. So where are we going with that?
Clover.
A cover crop, and so the nitrogen. So you're not going to just blanket the soil with a chemical, right? You don't want to do that. You're only going to use the chemicals that you absolutely need to use. So we're going to test before we do it. So we're going to do the petiole, that's like the little stem. We're going to send those into a lab, and then we're going to know exactly what's going on in our plant and our soil. And then on that basis, we'll make our fertilization decisions.
Choices.
So I'm usually short on potassium. I have too much calcium, it's binding up the potassium. If I'm short on nitrogen. So then I'll know, and I'll dial in just what fertilizer I need. I'll do it through an inline fertilization, My plants will get bigger, and then if I need be, I can do what they call foliar application, where I'm spraying it on the leaves.
On the leaves. You know, stupid people don't own wineries. This is so complex.
You know, though, you need to not know what you're doing when you start.
Why is that?
Yeah, you just need to be able to jump out of the airplane without your parachute, and it's good to not know.
Well,
if you knew, you'd talk yourself out of it.
So tell me about your very first bottle of wine. The first one that came off.
Oh, well, my first one went down the driveway, as it should have, because it tasted horrible.
Oh.
You know, you just can't. You can't become a winemaker. You couldn't be a gourmet chef on your first try.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. You wouldn't want to fly the plane on your first day.
Nope. You can't fly the plane on your first time. You can't make wine on your first try. So it went down the driveway.
And what were the mistakes that you would never make again?
Oh, well, I still make mistakes. So.
But those mistakes that you wouldn't make again.
Oh, you know what? I didn't have a lot of equipment. I was making wine in these little carboys, right? There's no evaporation. There's no exchange of oxygen. I didn't have a lot of equipment. Now I've got big machines that do all the testing, and then I was like using these little strips of paper to test.
And now, what's the best part of being a vintner? You've had a wonderful career.
The people, the people that you interact with, be it the other vintners, the growers, your customers, your wine club. Like you don't realize you can have like this little fan club, and they're like your little fan club. And so I never ever expected that.
Have all these people loving you for what you do.
Yeah, because you're like kind of in there. I think of myself as like the janitor. Like I'm in there like cleaning something or doing something. So.
But you're really creating something magical.
Something that's a combination of art and science.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're not a creative person, you really can't be a winemaker.
No, you need to be creative. You need to be an artist. You also need to be a chef. All great winemakers are also great chefs.
Good
you
point.
You have to be able, when you're tasting wine, to pick out cinnamon, to pick out anise, to pick out ripe versus unripe plums.
Your palate's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for being here with us on the amazing Vintners and Vineyards of San Diego. We've been here with our guest, Susanne Sapier. Did I get it right finally?
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Right.
Okay. Who is an extremely experienced woman winemaker here in San Diego, and I recommend you go out to all of our 100-and-something vineyards and taste your way around San Diego County. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next week.